I think I talk loud enough. You can all hear me properly, right? Okay. What I'm going to talk about, I know this is kind of a little deceiving because what I'm really going to talk about are the earth grids. I don't know if anyone's aware of what those are, but by the end of this, hopefully, you'll know what they are if you don't already. And if you don't know who I am or what I do, I'm both a paranormal investigator on the team and also medium and psychic. So I get to use all the tools that are there on the table in front of you, and also all the tools that I bring with me every day, everywhere. So all of my senses, including my sixth sense, which is what some people call it. So that's just to kind of share who I am. And then the reason I started to research ley lines, and I know some of you may have heard this if you were here at the time when I shared what happened, but some of you I don't recognize the faces, so I'll tell it again. It was after a cleansing at a client's house, and we were in a car, headed home, and Ian was there, and Gizmo myself, and Gizmo started to say the archangel prayer of protection that he says after we're done with investigations, the different, whatever we're doing. And I shut my eyes, and all of a sudden I saw this kind of lightning streaks looking, lightning going, but it was going horizontally. So we're going in a different direction. It looked a little strange. It did look different than I had seen before. So I kind of okay, I don't know what that is, but we got to figure it out. And then almost immediately, and they have to know because of who I am, that I do see spirits. So I saw Archangel Michael land on the roof of the car, and with his wings outspread, and his sword sheathed on his left side, and he kneeled on one knee, and his head was bowed. And this is the closest picture I can find to something like it. He didn't have a big staff in his hand, and that's actually Raphael, but I thought it was the closest picture I could find. I looked really hard to try to find something to show you kind of what it looked like, and maybe his wings were curved a little bit more as he came down. So it was quite an experience. But after about a week or two, I kind of thought about it, and synchronicity, you know what that is? Just things start happening in your life where one thing leads to another, and pretty soon I just get this epiphany, or this thought just pops in my head. I just knew, and I'm sure it's my higher self or my spirit guides or somebody sharing this information with me. Maybe it's Archangel Michael again sharing with me, not sure. But all of a sudden I heard those were ley lines, and that's how the spirits travel. They use the ley lines. So what? Let me see if I can show. I'll answer questions after. I hope I explain everything that maybe you're going to ask. Let's see if I click. If I did. What do I need to click on?
So move the mouse down to this arrow here. I noticed, and you don't even have to move it again. You can just click right.
There?
Yep, that's the one.
Okay. Now, this is the picture of Florida, because when we were going on several investigations, it seemed like we were being pulled from one side of the state to the other. And really in a strange angle. I mean, we were going what is it? I'm going to say it where you say it. I'm sorry, see where you said it. We keep watching. I don't know what it was, but it was some place up there. And then goes north of Tampa. And then
I can't pronounce it again.
Yeah.
Wichi-wachi.
Wichi-wachi, right? And then we went all the way. And I know we were in Longwood at one point, and I think it was just my first few investigations, but it was in the middle of the state. And then we were at Vero Beach, I think. We were at Vero Beach, which is way south. It's almost down there where it's really south. And kind of the line, if I actually take this and show you, basically it kind of goes from way up here almost to, straight like that almost, or a little bit of, not quite that angle, but like that, right across Florida.
Vero Beach is 75 miles north of West Florida.
Well, it's still up here.
Yeah, right.
Maybe right out here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So just kind of like that, just like my arrow, just right across the state. So, but what I was seeing these and felt and was being told was that the spirits, the ghosts, the ones that we're trying to find, that they are actually using ley lines to travel, which I'll explain what those are, but they're using the energy of the earth, and they're using that to travel back and forth to different places. And one of the things you have to realize is, as I get into this, you're going to discover that there are not just one level of ley lines, but they start out really big, and then they just keep getting smaller and more local, down, so you have a zillion of them. You could have one running through your house, your front yard, your city, your town, whatever. It's just sometimes you might not have one anywhere near you, but it just depends on where you live. And we are lucky to have, as everyone knows, we have the Bermuda Triangle sitting right off the coast, and many different ley lines shoot out from that toward the United States. And so some of them do cross Florida, and then there's a lot, like I said, a lot of little ones. But let me keep going. And basically, the existence of ley lines, the phrase, the person who first suggested it, or at least that wrote about it, that we know, was an amateur archaeologist by the name of Alfred Watkins. And he wrote his book called The Old Straight Track, and that was back in 1921. So it was quite a while ago. And what he did, I think I've got, I'm going to do this. So if you're interested, that's actually, I think this one on this side is his first, when they first published it, and then this is probably what it looks like now. So he was writing, he lived in England. And so he was out walking around the different sites, lots of sites in England, lots of different, interesting mounds and different things there. And what he discovered was this. He discovered that, and he called it, of all things, the St. Michael, or it was coined, I don't know if he called it with somebody, whatever, it was called the St. Michael alignment. And what it is it runs through all of these different megalithic and all these different sites. And if you look, it goes all the way up, and it doesn't just stop when the land stops. You have to understand this. They go all the way around the earth. So one ley line is a complete circle. Wherever it's going to go all the way around. So all this ley line right here actually continues. And if anyone knows their geography really well, you might be able to realize just by looking just in your mind and thinking where that might be headed, that heads right to Washington, D.C.
That explains it.
So it kind of makes sense why, when they were building Washington, D.C., one of the things people say, they talk about the Masons or the Freemasons, they talk about the fact that they built that city with certain alignments, with certain ways the streets are going. They did it on purpose because they were looking at ley lines. And if you look at most of the cities, major cities, all around the world, they're on ley lines. And a lot of times it's because the natural energy, it's the next one here, the natural, that one's actually another one that intersects. That one intersects, before I finish telling you that. This one intersects with the St. Michael ley line. This is the Apollo and Athena energy lines that run through Europe. And those go all the way down to, I think it says Armageddon right there, which is a little weird, but that's okay. Because, if you think about it, it goes through the Oracle of Delphi, which to me, I like that because actually my license plate on my car says Oracle, because the word Oracle really just means medium. So it's a person who talks to spirits, gets information from them. But this is, there's Mont Saint Michel. I don't know if anyone's ever traveled in France, but I actually had an opportunity there a long time ago to travel and go there. And I didn't know it was on a ley line when I was there, but I remember just really loving it. And I got to spend the night there, which was amazing. I don't have a picture of that. For some reason, that one got X'd out when I was going through my pictures. But if you look it up, it's beautiful. But this connects, and so you see how one shoots this way, one will shoot this way. They go in all different directions. And then they're known by different names, like that. Sometimes they're called, they might have a specific name. Okay, there it is. Okay. Sometimes they might have a specific name. This, actually, is why we have, like, this is part of it at least. The Earth energy we have magnetic poles, obviously, north and south. And we also have a geographic pole. There's a magnetic pole, and there's also a geographic pole, which is interesting because our planet tilts. And all of this energy shoots out and goes all around the Earth and circles around. And then, so you have all that magnetic energy coming from the inside of the Earth, coming out. And some different native countries call them by different things. The natives call them an Earth energy line. The Aboriginals call them dream lines. And the South American shamans call them spirit lines. And the Chinese call them dragon lines. So if you really think about it, if you know anything about the Chinese, they believe their emperor came from a dragon or was brought here on a dragon. So kind of calling them a dragon line kind of harkens back to the idea that who created these lines? How did they get there? What's going on with this? And I'm going to read this to you because it's really important and I don't want to miss what I'm about to say. But I'll go to the next picture. So you kind of see, that's kind of a beautiful picture of kind of the energy that goes around the Earth. And then besides, we have electrical energy. So we have that magnetic energy. And then we have electrical energy, which comes from the sun. That's the way I look at it. It comes from the sun. Maybe I'm not doing this so scientifically, but I'm doing it the way I am being done. I'm feeling it. The energy from the sun, because of our magnetic energy that shoots out from the Earth, we're protected from a lot of the harsh problems that would be affecting us if we didn't have it. And the spinning of the Earth and all that, all together, we create electromagnetic energy. So you got electric and magnetic, and it creates electromagnetic. At least, again, it may not be scientific, but it's the way I'm going to tell you it is. Ley lines are alignments. This is direct from that. The ley lines are alignments of a number of locations of geographical interest. Now this is the big one. Such as ancient monuments and megalithic sites that are thought to have energy from them that can be found by using dowsing rods and believed to have spiritual power. Many believe that the ley lines and their intersecting points resonate a special psychic or mystic energy. Some classify that as a pseudoscience, so they don't believe it. A lot of scientific people do not believe that there are ley lines. They just consider it, pseudoscience, along with the belief and search for ghosts, will also be a pseudoscience, I believe. It has been said that ley lines can be the product of ancient surveying, property markings, and commonly traveled paths. So if you think about it, your ancestors probably walked, certain paths back and forth. Now maybe they had something to do with the water, because people tended to stay near rivers. They tended to stay near coastlines. They were mountains, different places that were, they felt secure. They felt like they could live and provide for their families and be protected. So sometimes caves at different places, which would be in the mountains. So a lot of tall places, a lot of places like that. And the ancient civilizations that built these sites, I believe they really understood sound and frequency. And they used it. So let me go to the next ones here. Now that is actually a picture of energy lines. So they don't look as neat as ley lines typically do. Ley lines typically are very straight. But the energy it's like the energy would be almost like a circadian rhythm, if you know what that is. It's kind of your ups and downs, your seasons, your different times, your energy goes up sometimes, your energy goes down sometimes. It's like a person. So, and then as far as we go here, Plato, that was good. Plato recognized grids and their patterns, devising a theory that the Earth's basic structure evolved from a simple geometric shape to more complex ones.
Wait a minute, you telling me that back there, the Romans already recognized the lines?
Well, wait, I'll keep going, you'll see. It's even farther back than this.
Wow.
So basically, it's something that's been known for a long time. Now this is chakras, our chakra system, right? And there's one of the ley lines going around the earth. So you can see that that's just one. There's a lot more. Now that is what's been said to be the Earth's chakra system. This is what some people believe. So we're going to see if I can get through this and show you some pictures. And some of them are very beautiful of where these different sites are. So we'll see if I can remember them all. That's actually Mount Shasta in California. That's said to be the root chakra. That's one of the chakras. That's one of the chakra points of Earth. And then that is actually Lake Titicaca in South America. Yeah.
What's the name?
Lake Titicaca. Supposedly there is, I'm not going to say it again. No, there are supposedly.
Lake Titicaca.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got it. It's good.
No, we pronounce it like that, but you say Titicaca.
When I was in school, we laughed at that. So, but that's the second chakra, or the sexual chakra, which kind of makes maybe I don't know who made this map up, but it's kind of interesting. Maybe it was a high school 12-year-old. But then we go to, and these may not be in exact order, but that is Ayers Rock in Australia. That's said to be the solar plex, or the third chakra. So I don't know if these are exactly right, but I'm telling you what I found. This is the information I have found. And, wait, that's other. Now that is, I'm just going to, in between all these beautiful pictures, so you don't get too lulled by all the beautiful pictures, I'm going to show you some grids. This is actually one of the probably first planetary grid systems. So you can see who, or maybe it's not one of the first, but it says 83. So this is one of the more complex ones. It gets a little more complex now. That's from Hayden's. He's a gentleman. If you look that name up, you can probably connect it with ley lines. You'll get a lot of information if you're interested. And then, but you can see how some of them are very triangle shaped. They did them in different shapes. Again, it goes back to that tetrahedrons and all kinds of different shapes in there. And it goes back to what Plato was saying. More complicated shapes. That is actually Glastonbury, yes. Exactly. And that's said to be the heart chakra. So that's near Stonehenge as well.
Yeah.
So that's said to be the heart chakra. Which there's some, and
Stonehenge is the big thing.
and then you've got just another example. This one actually is less complicated than the last one. It probably a little out of order, but there you go. That one's probably just more, not quite as many, but you see how they go all around. And then the Sphinx, the Great Pyramid, and that area, actually even including the Mount of Olives, is the fifth chakra, or the throat chakra. That's what they're saying. So it's where information maybe started to go out. And then this is something really I find very interesting. There's a few things I've thrown in here just to kind of tell you something. It may not actually go along with all of this, but I'm going to throw a few things out there actually. Let me see if I'm reading that right. It's 17 and a half, right? I believe at 17 and a half, degrees from the equator, if you go down usually on most of the planets in our solar system, there is some type of spot. There's a circle. There's some type of energy that's going in a swirling pattern. I know most of you have seen that on some of the planets. If you go out of the solar system, it's on every one of them. There's something major on every one of them at that latitude. So it has to do with the way the Earth, with the circle spinning. It has to do with the spinning. Also, and I don't think I put it in here, but and I don't have the exact time how you multiply it, but the Great Pyramid, if you multiply it by a certain number, it is exactly, if you take the northern, or take 1/2 of the hemisphere of the Earth, the shape of the Great Pyramid fits. It touches the top, and it touches both sides. It is exactly perfect. It touches all four sides, I should say, because it's a pyramid. It's pretty amazing. And actually, the Great Pyramid is not technically 4-sided, I believe it's 8-sided. So it's got a little bit of a thing.
May I make a comment?
Yes.
Through my years, there's always been this comment that there's a theory out there that the pyramid chain tends to keep energy. So you listen to that and you know, you go through your life and you investigate places. Now, one evening, we went to a hotel that they were having so many paranormal experiences that they had some painters. One of them was pushed by an entity and they just took off. They had the paint and everything laying down and just took off. They said, we're not coming back because the hotel was haunted. So they called us, and so we always, you know, like to check. Normally I go by myself because nobody comes. So I have to go by. But this time, you know, a couple of my guys went with me. And as I enter the hotel into the lobby, I'm feeling already uncomfortable, right? So I look up, you guys know this. I look up and I see a bunch of lights in maybe too many lights on that corridor and the hallway on top of me. Let's say like this thing, right here, like this, same thing, right? This distance. Each one of them had a pyramid shaped cone right there, each one of them. And I saw that and I stopped and I go, whoa, check this out. Look at that. If what they say is true, there's a lot of energy here. And that was my weapon. I was hit so hard, that my son and my friend had to basically help me walk out of the hotel. It was a pyramid shape.
A pyramid shape.
And it was several of them. And I just made a comment, you know, like, you know, look at that. That what they say is true. That took me a lot of energy. Boom. And it covered me in such a way that I had to be helped out from the hotel.
You know, to add on to what you guys are saying, in this book from The Untethered Soul from Earl Sigler, you know, he talks about some scholars, like certain energy that doesn't make it through, and you know, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but certain energy. He says when it stays inside you, it circles around itself. And that sounds very similar to the way that you guys
Exactly. That was my weapon. See what you got.
Yeah.
But with the pyramid shape, I remember back in the...
I'm sorry. I just remember that.
Okay, so years ago I read a book and it also talked about the pyramid shape, and a lot of people were actually selling little pyramids that people could put over their razor blades to keep their razor blades sharp. So there were different little things like that that's out there in the world, because the food, I think, believe that even seeds, I think, will grow better. If seeds are put under a pyramid shape, it has to be the right shape. It has to be like the Great Pyramid. But if you put seeds under it, I believe they've proven that those seeds will actually grow and produce better plants or taller plants, whatever, more productive. So it's really, that's quite interesting. But we go to the next one here. Oops. Okay. Right. Oh, and there you go.
Big up on energy.
And that's actually, like, probably somebody went and looked for, I'm not sure how that picture was taken, or whether it looks like a real picture to me. But I'm not sure whether someone was trying to measure the energy coming out of the Great Pyramid or what. But it's been said that actually the Great Pyramid has, the place where the sarcophagus, if you ever look at inside and look at information about it, in the King's Chamber, years ago, there's a story that years ago, there was a green light that used to emanate out, and the guards would sometimes let people in to go into the King's Chamber when everything's supposed to be closed, and you know, let them kind of go in there and do whatever they want to do, and the guards had seen this light, and I guess other people saw this light because they have moved the sarcophagus, which they call it a sarcophagus. Of course, no mummy was found in it, and there's no writings inside the Great Pyramid, and so there's all kinds of belief that the Great Pyramid is an energy source. It's one of the energy sources on the earth. It's bringing, if you look at the picture, it's actually bringing the energy from below the ground, inside the earth, up and out. And so it's part of a network. And that's what all of these other great sites are about. They're all connected. And it's even more than this. It's even more than the pictures I have.
You remember some of the investigations that we did? You remember you and I discussed it? For some reason, I remember she said something about it. And actually, you did the research, and I remember she got back to me and said, hey, check this out. I said, later.
Yep.
They're connected. The houses were connected.
Right. And that is actually a picture. I want to make sure I get this right. This is actually a picture of, hold on, I got it written down here, what that is. It's, my printer stopped and then restarted, so my page is a little bit out of order real quick here, if you guys can bear with me. It's been studied. Sound and resonance has been studied by a lot of scientists. And they actually can levitate items with sound. Not very big ones, but they can levitate small ones with it. And they can boil water with sound. Sound creates light. They've actually had sound create DNA in I believe it's some mixture in the lab. And sound heals. It's been said to heal. It destroys pathogens, and and beyond the speed of light, there's hypersound and something called SASER, S-A-S-E-R, all in caps. I'm not sure what that is yet, but it's basically what they're saying is the energy of the Earth is kind of a precursor to the electromagnetic energy. So sound, is the precursor. I said that wrong. Sound is the precursor. It came before electromagnetic energy. And this is a picture of a sonic, this is wave, a sound wave. It's a bubble of sound. That's what that is. That's actually sound. And then, I don't know if they put water or how exactly that picture, but that's what that is. And then that is actually half. They cut it in half and looked at it. So if you look at half of that, look right in the center. You guys see something right in the center? These guys I don't have one on today. But there's a cross right in the center. And that cross is one of the first crosses. The way it looks is one of the very original crosses that were ever out there. So it's one of the ones that a lot of different ancient societies used. That even cross that kind of like flares out at both sides, at the ends. And so just so you know, it kind of was all kind of connected together. Maybe the world knew. Somehow, in our minds, somehow we knew the cross was an important symbol. Just something to think about. Now that is really interesting because this is actually the sound of Om, I believe. And if anyone knows what that is, it's basically they call it the prime resonance frequency, is what they're saying, which is really beautiful. And I'm not going to get really religious here, but if you read your Bible, sound is the breath of the Creator. And the first sound was, let there be light. So if you think about it, according to everything, all beliefs all around the whole planet, they all believe that the first thing that happened was sound, was voice, and then light, and then earth. So it's really interesting that science is catching up a little bit with where maybe all these other societies knew a long time ago. So it's kind of interesting. Now there's Stonehenge. So again, I think that goes back to they're saying that's the third eye, actually. That is the third eye. So that's the sixth chakra. And so that makes a lot of sense. And then that's just another grid system, but there's a lot of things all around in different parts of the world that talk about snakes intertwining, well, in all parts of the world, because if you know about medical, right? You have the two snakes intertwining, right? You also, if you look at what a DNA looks like.
Yeah.
It's like the two snakes intertwining. So there's a lot of ancient civilizations that have both the tree of life as one of their symbols and also the two entwining snakes. So it's just a thought. Again, just things to put out there for you guys to think about. And if you're interested in any one of these things I mentioned today, my suggestion is look it up yourself, because there's a lot of information out there. if something sparks your interest. That's actually Tibet. That's actually a mountain. I'm not sure if it's Kailash. That's what it is. There it is. And Kailash? Kailash, is that it? Kailash in Tibet. And then this, I'm not sure. Now these, I might have a couple of these out of order, but supposedly that is actually the 7th chakra, or the crown chakra, which makes a lot of sense. It's at the top of the world. And so maybe that's why they did what they did, is they figured this out. There's some other places that I'm going to mention that may not have to do with chakras, but they call them gates. And I'm not going to go necessarily all in order, but here and there I'll show you some pictures of them. And that one is the 4 mountains of Bali. Is that it? And, you know, right? Everybody know where that is? Yeah.
Yes.
Back in South America.
Yes, I was a king there.
Mexico. So there you go. See?
About back in the 7th century, I was a king there.
There you go. So we have, and that's, again, another pyramid. And you think there's only pyramids in a few places around the world, but that's not true. There's lots of pyramids all over China. There's pyramids on every continent.
Cambodia.
Yes, there's pyramids everywhere. And so that's kind of part of that. That's part of that energy source. That's Mount Fuji. That's another one of the, as they call them, gates. This is actually something interesting. I had never seen this before. And I'm not sure if I have a name here, but I'm looking to see if I can remember which one this is. But it came on my side of my map. My side of my list is off. But it's amazing. It's amazing just to think about that, just being there. You know, there's not much else. There's some other animals carved in the stones around it too. Now that's Hawaii. That's Hawaii. That's one of the other places. It's thought to be energy center. That is actually the Table Mountain in Cape Town, South Africa. So, and right there's another grid for you to look at. And if you notice, see the cross here? It's kind of interesting when you think about it. The triangles, and then there's the snake. And so if you look at it, it repeats. These repeat. If anyone knows about the flower of life, that's going to show up a little bit later. Here, I've got a picture of that. Let's see if I can see that. That is actually called, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get this right, it's called either Adam's Circle or something like that. That's what that's called. That is in South Africa as well. Right near the last picture. So it's very interesting. That's like kind of like a Stonehenge as well. Stonehenge is what they call it. That's in Thailand. You're right, but it's Thailand, but it's the one somebody just mentioned.
Cambodia?
No, Cambodia. It's in Cambodia. It's Angkor Wat. It's part of it. There's so many miles and miles of beautiful buildings and all kinds of carving, all kinds of things. And part of what is interesting is there's a lot of, I'm not going to go into the numbers because my son would if he was here because he's a mathematician, but he'd be an engineer, but the number, if you go around the globe, a lot of these places are either on the same circle, they go all the way around, or this way, or at an angle, but also they go out, those ley lines a lot of these just connect, they all connect somehow. And if you look at this, the one picture there, it kind of weaves, that's kind of that, they all connect like that, in just the two, almost like our DNA goes, so the two intertwining lines, and then
1,000 years ago, about 80,000 people lived in this.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And now it's all overgrown.
But it's about 72 degrees away from the Giza Plateau. And then another 72 degrees, you hit another item. And about 72 degrees away, you get something else, and you go, and eventually you go all the way back around, and you get back to Stonehenge. You go all the way around the Earth. So it's really quite interesting. If you go by, there are certain numbers that repeat and repeat and repeat. So let me see what else I have. Pictures of, I'm going to get back to some more information about ley lines, but I wanted to show you Easter Island. Most of you know some of these. I'm hoping. If you don't, that is actually very interesting. This is a drawing, a depiction of what they think the Tower of Babel might have looked like. And that's in Sumeria, or if anyone's heard of the Anunnakis. Anybody heard of them? Yeah? Well, actually, there's a little bit of something I kind of didn't tell you, but I'm going to go back to it because I kind of showed you the pictures of the energy. It says that basically the Great Pyramid, the other pyramids, are resonating chambers, and they transmute and transmit energy all around the earth. The other thing that's said is that our pineal gland, which I don't know if there's anyone here who knows what that is, but it's inside our brain, and it looks like, if you look at it for a picture of it, it looks like the eye of Horus. They've actually put them right next to each other. The pineal gland and the eye of Horus, they look like each other. And supposedly the pineal gland is our frequency receiver and transmitter. So maybe that's why there's some of us that are more sensitive than others. Maybe our pineal gland is like energized. I don't know. But I think everyone has the ability to do that, to energize it. That's why we have it. It's also been suggested that the Anunnaki were controlling the pineal gland. And the tree of life, which is a symbol for DNA, which I said that, with sound and frequency. And if you ever see pictures of the Anunnaki, I'm not sure if I have a picture here of them, but a lot of times they have a cone-shaped object that they're holding with their hand. And then some people say they have a man purse in their other hand because they have some other object that looks like a purse in their other hand. And the cone, they seem to be, aiming it in certain places. And if you think about your eyes, if you know anything about your eyes, we have cones and rods in our eyes. Well, it turns out our pineal gland also has cones and rods. So there's some really interesting things. So it is basically thought that it is our third eye. Because it's right in the middle. It would be where our third eye is. So just to add some more thought there for you. We already went through, there's nodes where the lines come together. It's called nodes. I don't know if I said that. N-O-D-E-S, nodes. And so the energy, I told you they coil around the earth. And keep going. Take some other pictures here real quick. That is actually, there you go. There's one of those, there's the line right there. Going across the middle of Florida. And there's one going up, one going down. And those are the bigger ones. These are the larger ones now. So you see there's several ones in several places, and this doesn't have all of them by any means. It doesn't really focus on certain, it only focuses on certain places. And this is made, everybody that looks at ley lines, and maybe the people out there with the dowsing rods or whoever, they check different things, so certain people might pick up on certain ones and not on other ones. So maps are made, there's lots of different maps that have been made about them. That is actually a book, a more recent book. So if anyone's interested, that's called Earth Grids, The Secret Patterns of Gaia's Sacred Sites. And it's by Hugh Newman. And he goes on a lot of speaking tours now. A lot of the different megalithic sites. He goes to a lot of different places. And so this is the newer book that's been talking about it. He involves a lot of the things I've just talked about in his talks and in his book. So if everyone, I'm going to go ahead and go forward if everybody's okay. Does anyone else need, I see someone writing, so I just go past it. And that is where I'm going to end, well, almost end my talk. This is a picture of the flower of life on top of the earth. So if you think about all of those different things that you just saw, it's kind of that idea of everything put together and just kind of waving out and emanating out. And, it's inside, it's everywhere. And so if you think about what you know, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to say any religious thing to anyone in particular, but I believe most people have some sense of spirit. I don't think you'd be here if you didn't believe you had a spirit inside of you. And so, you think about it. Eventually, maybe we all get to travel all over these places, right? We all get to go and go visit people and go here and go check there and maybe go back in time and forward in time, anywhere we want to go. And that's the ley lines. Well, yeah, the ley lines. And the interesting part is that I believe, which this gentleman just talked about in past life, I believe that you can do it now. I believe that a lot of this energy and the traveling. People travel, they pass life regressions, they have memories of things. There are all kinds of, there's all information out there. And I want to hopefully just to kind of like, something I said has made you go, maybe that's a little interesting, we should check that out. Is what she's saying real? Just anything like that. That's kind of my purpose of giving this talk. So that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Hey, to add to what you just said about being able to travel and stuff like that, Neville Goddard has a book that he just came out with a few months ago that he talks about that same stuff. Like he talks about basically how we are cross sections of our eternal selves. Just like the point is a cross-section of a line, and the line is a cross-section of a three-dimensional figure.
Right.
And, he talks about how, he breaks it down very well. So if you guys want to check out what she was talking about.
And this is why, and this is also why when we go out and we do the investigations, we're looking for sounds. Think about that. We're talking about the sound. A sound has energy. It makes a shape. It goes through the sound is very important, which is why we're collecting all of this, and we take all these technical things with us to collect sound. Because sound is the energy that still is available to the spirits, even after they're out of their body. And so that's one of the things. And also just the light. The fact that light is there. So we get pictures of different lights, different orbs, different things that might show up, and that's all part of it. So there you go. Question? Yes. Oh,
Sounds.
Well, all I was going to say, Diane, is that, choirs, groups of people that sing together, within seconds of when they start singing, their heartbeats synchronize. They're all in the exact same heartbeat. That's been proven scientifically.
I've heard that one, but I have heard people who give, a lot of people do spiritual healing, either Jure or Reiki. There's a thing called Reiki and Jaibu. Or not Reiki, I do Jure, excuse me. Reiki is the other one. But basically, they tested it in Japan, and they put people behind so you don't know if you're receiving it or not, and they put the different electrodes on people, the brain of the person receiving, the brain of the person giving, sending the energy. And within just a short amount of time, if the person's starting to send the healing energy, their brains sync up. The wavelengths will be different and then they'll sync.
That's why prayer works.
Right. Because it's prayer and action, that's what it is.
I have another question, too. Several years ago, when I was doing research for the St. Augustine books, I came across, in the library up there, an article about ley lines, about a specific ley line from Spain to St. Augustine. Have you seen anything?
I'm sure that there's been, that's just it. They go, like I said, they go like that all the way around. I mean, they're literally, they go all over the earth. So I'm pretty sure that there's one that's going to go, I mean, I don't have that exact one, but there was one that was pretty high up on Florida, too.
You still have it for us.
Right. That's hot, yeah. That's fair. Well, and they said that's where they have something there, Fountain of Youth, right? Maybe that has something to do with it.
So they learned to confuse you, you say?